Thank you so much for joining us, spending your lunch or breakfast or brunch, whatever it is for you, with us. As you know, we didn't have our benefit dinners this year, which we usually have in Maryland and Chicago. But the cool thing is normally you can only attend those dinners if you live in that area. But as you can see, we have people from all over the US now that are able to join us. Some of you have been committed, longtime supporters of ours from like day one to just learning about us in the last year. So many of you have been volunteers, supported our work, and just really committed to our mission. So thank you for joining us. I am super excited to be here with all of you. I'm just gonna do a little bit of like video and photo so you can see behind the scenes of L.A.C.E.S, and at the end we'll do the Q&A. Our staff in Liberia are on here. James, Pastor Roberts, Leah, you wanna spotlight them a second? Maybe, let's see, we have James. He's our program director in Liberia. He has been with us for the last 13 years, and you'll learn more about him a little bit later, and especially tomorrow, where they will be leading the session. And then Pastor Roberts, let's spotlight him. He's our program manager in Liberia, and he's a ton of fun. So he's the one who oversees our programs, works with our coaches, and once again, you can ask him questions later on, but you'll also really get to hear from him and James tomorrow. So anyway, so I mean, all of you know me, but I'm just gonna say it for those who will be hearing this recording later, but my name is Seren Fryatt. I'm the founder, executive director of L.A.C.E.S, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. So I often get asked the question, in the past by some of you, but many as well, like, why did I start L.A.C.E.S? How did I do it? What was it like? And really it was started because God put a passion and a vision on my heart for the youth of Liberia. I didn't know much about the youth of Liberia. All I knew was that they had endured a 14-year civil war. Liberia was known for its use and abuse of child soldiers. Leah, maybe you can, thanks. Endured a 14-year civil war, as I said, and really the impact that had on children was life-changing. I mean, they, what you see in a child and the excitement that you see when they are, just going through everyday life that I see in my child, it's not what I saw when I was in Liberia. And God through that civil war, he had 250,000 people were killed, and it orphaned 230,000 children. When I learned about these statistics, it was before I arrived in Liberia. And a very long story short, how I got to Liberia was I volunteered with an organization called Mercy Ships. They convert old cruise liners into hospitals. And I was volunteering with them in Liberia. I stepped off the ship about 2 weeks into my time there to play a pickup soccer game. And I was playing this pickup soccer game. A coach saw me playing, and he recruited me to play in the women's professional soccer league. I had no idea at that time they had a professional soccer league, and it was pretty life-changing. As you can see, this is the women on my team. As I spent more time with them, I got to cross cultural barriers. I got to learn about what their life was like during the Civil War. I got to see who they were on the field and who they were off the field. And when I saw them off the field, that's when sports became more than a game to me. It became this avenue of restoration. I remember I was at soccer practice one day, and it was really challenging. In the States, when you're playing soccer, it's like practice starts at 5 o'clock, you show up at 5 o'clock, your boots are on, and shin guards are all ready to go, or you set the bench for the next game. Well, after a 14-year civil war, apparently that's not what soccer is like. The girls would show up to practice, the coach would say run, they would walk. He would say jump, they would say how low. Like, literally, it was as if there was no organization. And so I approached the coach one day and I said, why do you allow this? These women are being paid. Why don't, what about the discipline that I'm used to? And he both put me in my place, which was very kind of him, but also taught me that sports is more than a game. And he said, Seren, these women have lived through 14 years of civil war. This is a brief moment of joy in their life. We're not here to win soccer games. We're here for restoration. And that is when it all switched. I mean, that's when God put this idea on my heart. I didn't know it then. I really didn't know it then, but it started to build over time. And what happened after that was I had to come back to the US. So I played with these women for 3 months and I had to come back to the US. And I came back, but God still put this idea on my heart. And I was like, how can I find an organization that is using the power of sport to invest in youth? Because not only what did I see on the field with the women on my team, I saw it out in the streets with kids. So kids who were former child soldiers, kids who were living on the street. They were outside begging, sort of had this, hollow look in their eyes, except for when they were playing soccer. So, I was trying to reconcile all of this. And I started talking to people about it and this idea that I had, and started getting frustrated because I couldn't find other organizations were doing it. And one person, she challenged me and said, why don't you do it yourself? And I came up with about 100 reasons, and that's like not even an exaggeration. There could have been more as to why I wasn't capable of doing something like this. That's not what my education was. This is not my background. What did I know about Liberia? What did I, know about doing any of this? But when it all came down to it, basically, I just didn't have faith in myself. I didn't have faith in what God had put on my heart. And so a week later, I went to that person and I said, okay, let's do this. And they helped me put together a business plan. My boyfriend at the time, now my husband, was a finance person. So he helped me create my first budget. Amazing person. It's helped ever since as a volunteer. And so really, it was a collective group of people who believed in it. I went to friends and individuals and said, I have this idea, but I can't prove to you that it works yet. I just know what I saw and what I have experienced in my life. And, within a short 6 months, we raised $80,000. And it was time to go to Liberia. And that's kind of where L.A.C.E.S started. L.A.C.E.S stands for Life and Change Experienced Through Sports. Our mission is to leverage the power of sport to mentor at-risk children. And our vision is, with Christ as our mentor and sports as our platform, L.A.C.E.S champions children to become future leaders. Now, when I went to Liberia, I knew I didn't live through a 14-year civil war. I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know what a path of restoration even meant. So once again, I had this idea, but I needed local people to be part of it. They needed to tell me how to make this possible. So 13 years ago, as you see, James and Pastor Roberts joined our team. And while I am the founder, I would really consider us the founding team. L.A.C.E.S would not be who it is today without these two other people. And they took this idea that was put on my heart and they made it happen, and they've made it happen every single day since L.A.C.E.S started. And it has been a pleasure, and I'm so proud to have them alongside of me. I remember when I first met James, he came into my office and said, here's my application and my resume. And I was like, this looks great. I asked him some questions that had nothing to do with his resume, but I was like, I believe this person has leadership skills and can lead people. And he proved that he could. A couple months, maybe a month later, we met Pastor Roberts, and once again, we're like, wow, this person is really inspiring. They really understand the vision of what we're trying to create. And he actually was like, so why should I join your team? And I think that's a great question that people need to ask, our supporters and our staff, like, why should I be part of your team? And maybe Pastor Roberts can answer that question for the rest of you later on. But I'll give you a summary. But basically, it was, this is the vision, we want to carry it out. And we need you to be part of it. Is this your passion? Is this your mission? Is this part of where you feel like you can make a difference in your country? And clearly he said yes, but it was a challenging question. So you know, 13 years later, all right, let's watch us all age. Okay, Leah, can you change the slide? I think it's, and here we are, 13 years later, a few gray hairs, a few more wrinkles, but still the joy and love that we have for each other. And why local leadership is important. What James and Pastor Roberts have taught us and how we've shaped our program is because of what they know. So we didn't actually realize how, in the beginning, how important home visits were, which is a key component of our program now. Children receive food, they have practices 2 times a week, games once a week, and then they have a coach who does home visits. But we started to realize that, you know, in the beginning we worked with former child soldiers, and our goal was to bring these kids back to being children and integrating back into their community. But we were doing it, not the community. And so they were like, we need the community to do this, and we need to invest in the community more. All of our coaches are from the community. They have been from day one. So that was our starting point, but their parents weren't, or their relatives or community leaders. And so we knew we had to bring them together. So I ran across this the other day when I was preparing for this, and I'm so glad that I did, because I can remember what it was like to kick the first ball in Liberia, what that meant for the children, what that meant for the start of L.A.C.E.S. And I actually found a video the other day of it. Forgot we had done the recording, but the quality of the video is about what you would expect from about like 13 years ago with a handheld camera. So Leah, can you go ahead and play that for us? It's fun. Children are ready, coaches are ready. Let's get this march going.
Today is the beginning or the opening of this entire L.A.C.E.S league. We're going to run a very wonderful league. Success is not about winning. Exactly. I say this to mean that we are not so much careful about who is going to carry a trophy, because we don't even have a trophy to give someone. What we have to give someone is a certificate for being disciplined, for developing a wonderful Christian life, for being respectful in their home, and how much more responsible our coaches can be. So we stand in the view of honoring people who deserves the honor by changing their lifestyle, because L.A.C.E.S is all about changing lifestyle.
So that was it was a ton of fun to see. Brought back a lot of amazing memories of just, you know, energy in the power of sport and what it meant for the people of Liberia. And James and Pastor Roberts can attest to that and talk about that a little bit later as to what that felt like for them. So going on here, Leah, if you can go ahead, and there we go. Let's get us back to our wonderful faces. And the next thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is, so we know the background of L.A.C.E.S. Now let's talk about our impact. This is a current program that we have in Kakata with 200 children. So in 13 years, we have served 3,350 children, trained 275 coaches on L.A.C.E.S research-backed sports mentoring curriculum, and provided 485,000 nutritious meals. And in the next 6 months, if our goal of fully funding the 120 children waiting to join our program, we will have surpassed 500,000 meals. Once again, as I was putting this together, I started to realize more and more the impact and what it was had. I didn't even realize that we're almost to 500,000 meals. I noted something the other day that actually our cook, one person, makes 600 meals a week. I barely make 21, and 600 meals a week. So if that just gives you an idea as to the amount of work and passion this person has. But so our impact, let's go back to that. So we decided that, you know, we want to know if our program is making a difference. you know, you can do these things, you can have sports programs, you can talk to kids, but if you can't measure your impact, then how do you know that it's really working? So we partnered with 2 universities in the States to conduct research. We looked at self-esteem, we looked at attitude towards violence, increase in sense of purpose, and closeness to coach. In the research, it showed that there was an increase in self-esteem amongst our children, a decreased attitude towards violence, and then, Leah, if you can switch the slide for me. You see here, we had an increase in, go back one, increase in sense of purpose. And this one was statistically significant. And you think about what an increase in sense of purpose provides. Someone, when you have purpose in your life, you get up and you know what you're looking forward to. You have a direction, you have a path. And when you're working with street children who don't have people around them, who do not have a support system, people to guide them, then it's very difficult to achieve this. Which also makes our next statistic really important, which is our closeness to coaches. So we surveyed our children and asked them how they felt about their coach. And basically the way that the survey worked was there was these 2 bubbles. So it was a visual one. And as the coach felt closer to the child, the bubbles overlapped. And they rated them against family members, friends, community members, those who surround them and, you know, impact their lives just from a holistic view. And it was statistically significant that the most important person in their life was their coach. So just imagine, you know, it is more than a game. Our coaches have the power to transform children and to give them a sense of purpose, to talk about their attitude towards violence, to increase their self-esteem. So this research not only affirmed our impact of the program, but it's now our guiding future. So in 2019, we became an organization that not only transformed the lives of generations to come in Liberia, but we launched a global movement that is now not only life-changing, but world-changing. And it started in Sierra Leone. Change the slide. So about 18 months ago, James and Pastor Roberts ventured around Sierra Leone. You can see down at the bottom, one of the little points there is in Monrovia, and they found their way, they weaved all the way through Sierra Leone for about a week, visiting 5 major cities, and before we finally determined and settled on Bo, Sierra Leone, as our next place to grow. Since that time, we have worked with others to help lay out a plan of what success would look like. Our founding staff partnered with Bain & Company, a global consulting firm, to develop partnership expansion criteria, metrics for evaluating our partners' success and implementing L.A.C.E.S programs, basically collecting information to continue to know that what we're doing is making an impact, and now our partners are making an impact. Now, what does a partnership look like? So we need to know what that is first. So what we've looked at is that because L.A.C.E.S is ran by locals, our coaches live in the community, our coordinators who run the programs like in Kakata or in Bo or in Duport Road in the past, various areas, they all live in the community. And what we found is that the curriculum is what was, you know, the impact of the research showed us that our curriculum is actually what makes it. So when you have locals and you have a curriculum that sports mentorship, that's it, that's what you need. And so we're like, well, why are we keeping this to ourselves? Why not partner with other organizations who are doing great things in the world that aren't sports related, are impacting street children, but need additional support to really make the work that they're doing holistic. So we've spent about 18 months working on this, or we spent about a year working on that portion of it. And then in February of this year, we launched with our first partner called Love One Another. Love One Another is a children's ministry and an interim care center for orphans and street children in Bo. Many of the children they serve have been rescued from child trafficking and abuse. They provide school, residential home care, and safe haven for abused girls. So they're able to meet these, like, you know, basic needs of these children. However, they don't have the expertise to develop the child's life skills and social emotional growth. So we connected and had a discussion and said, you know, is what can offer to you, will that be valuable to you? And they said yes. And through many, many conversations and researching them and, affirming their accreditation and their financial systems and just making sure they're a solid organization to partner with, we have partnered with Love One Another. And here is a video to show you what that has looked like, our partnership.
Bo is in Sierra Leone, it's in the southern province. It's a city of about 800,000 people living there. Well, most of the children are abandoned. They are left in the street to cater for themselves for reasons that some are orphans, some are being trafficked.
I think if we don't try to contain them at the time when they are young, it will be very difficult when they grow up in areas or communities that are so hazardous to them. They grow up to be gangs and doing so much bad things within the country.
Young generations, children that are in the streets, that do not have that know-how, that they have something in them to make them great.
The footballs can change my life. The footballs can change my life attitude.
We're here in Sierra Leone kicking off L.A.C.E.S global partnership.
Partnership is important because with partnership, you interact with the next man, you learn from the next man learns from you. Now L.A.C.E.S is here with all of this package, and they have the know-how, they have the equipment.
L.A.C.E.S is such that it is a very dynamic organization, and anyone who becomes a coach in L.A.C.E.S should always be proactive, meaning they should always think ahead of the game.
L.A.C.E.S have taught me not only the game, but it has taught me how to maintain life, how to deal with different categories of people. People that are needing, people that want courage, people that are helpless. So L.A.C.E.S have taught me how to deal with these categories of people. So with that, as from today, I have passion for the game.
We are the hope of our nation, and this we believe. Go! L.A.C.E.S, go!
Well, that's L.A.C.E.S past, present, and future, and what it's going to look like. So we cannot grow without the collective power of others. So as I mentioned before, when I first started L.A.C.E.S, I needed people to teach me how to build finances, to build a business plan, to raise that $80,000. And as you heard in the beginning, Pastor Roberts, in the very beginning launch video, he talked about our mission and the youth that we serve. And that has not changed. 13 years later, we're still living out that mission. And once again, it's not possible without the collective power and support of others. So today, before we get into the Q&A, I just want to ask you to consider how you can support one or more of the 120 children who are waiting to join our program. To sponsor a child, it's $420 a year. And every dollar counts because every child matters. In the chat box, Leah's going to put a link to our donation website where you can give. Our goal is to raise $50,000 by November 12th to fully fund 120 children who are waiting to join the program, and we're almost halfway there. So I am, this is L.A.C.E.S, and we need you. We need the collective power of people, of communities, of supporters to make this mission continue and to grow it globally.